So good morning all my dear students. Today I'll be dealing with the next part of partial differential equations. So in this part what I'm gonna tell you is the application oriented things in partial differential equations. This is one of the important part if you consider in the exam point of view, because here what I'm doing is the derivation of one dimensional wave equation, derivation of one dimensional heat equation, and also the various possible solutions for one dimensional heat and wave equations. So if you go through this, my dear students, most of the time either of the derivation or the solution of any one will be definitely asked in your exam. The last question in this module will be either the derivation of wave equation or the derivation of heat equation in one part, in or either it will be solution of heat or wave. If they ask you derivation of heat there, they'll ask you solution of wave here. Okay, and if they ask you solution of heat over there, they'll ask you derivation of wave. So that is the way how they will ask. So either of the one will be there for sure. Okay, so what you have to do, my suggestion is better to study the derivation as well as the solution properly. Okay, because we cannot tell what happens is sometimes if you know this, however you know that the question will be there definitely, correct? So this is like a fixed question for you people. If you know this properly, what you can do, even if you don't know one question in any of the part, either the second one or the first one, you can leave that part, correct? So my suggestion is it's better not to leave any one of this in part. Okay, you study the derivation as well as solution of both heat as well as wave equation. That will be really helpful for you in the exam point of view. Okay, so now what I'll start is I'll start with the derivation of wave equation first. Okay, and heat equation I'll do it later. Yes, so I am deriving the one dimensional wave equation. So before starting the derivation, the diagram is very important. Okay, so this is the way how we are drawing. We are taking x and u. U is nothing but y, x axis and y axis. Okay, and O to A is a wave what we consider here. Okay, it's just like we have taken a spring, and in that spring we have taken just a part of a spring, and that is O to A. Okay, so that we have extended that spring. And one more thing, my dear students, here whenever we do any derivations, there are some assumptions which I'm gonna take. Okay, that I'll explain you once when I go through it. So just I'm explaining the diagram here. First we are considering a uniform elastic string of length L. Okay, so the length of the string is L, which is tightly stretched between the points O and the point OA. Okay, and it is displaced slightly from an equilibrium position O to A. Okay, now taking the end O as its origin, we are taking the end O as its origin. OA is the axis, OA is the axis and the perpendicular line through O. Okay, so what is this OA? OA is the axis and it is perpendicular to the line O as U axis, and it is perpendicular along U axis. Instead of taking Y axis, we have taken U axis. Okay, so what we will find is we will find the displacement U. We will find the displacement of U as a function of x and time t. Okay, displacement normally depends on time also, correct? Distance x and time t. So what we are doing here, we are considering a uniform elastic string. Uniform means what? It is uniformity everywhere, means the string expansion or compression will be same if you take it anywhere. So what we are doing, in a string we are considering a part which of length L, which is stretched between the points O and A. Okay, and it is displaced slightly to equilibrium position OA. Next what you will do, you take the end point O as a origin, and OA is the axis, OA is the axis, and the perpendicular line is through which axis? Through O will be U axis. Then what we are doing? We are finding the displacement of this U axis as a function of which one? As a function of x and t, where x is the distance and time is the t is the time. Got it? So this is what you have to write first. Now we'll also take some assumptions whatever are required here. So these assumptions are also very important, my dear students. When it comes to derivation, what we check is, first we check with the diagram. Okay, after checking the diagram, we will just see whether you have explained. And one more thing, my dear students, it's not like the same theory whatever I have given it should be there. Okay, any theory which can be understandable can be written in the exam, no problem. And we never expect the theory should be same as whatever we have given in the notes or in the video. Okay, so but make sure that the diagram you draw it properly and explain the diagram properly. Okay. Okay, I have just taken the diagram here so that I can explain it once when it is required. So these are the assumptions what we are going to make here. First thing is, as I said, it should be a uniform string. Uniform string means what? It should be perfectly flexible and it does not offer any resistance of bending. What happens? Normally you might have seen a string, correct? String in the sense you might have that tick pen, correct? In that you will find a spring. Am I right? So that spring should be uniformity. Uniformity means you used to play when you were very small kids, correct? You used to bend that spring and used to, you know, pull it up, push it down and push it up, and I think you used to pull that spring and all, correct? That string should be uniform and it should be very flexible. Flexible in the sense, once if you move down, press down, again it should come back to its original position. Okay, and it should not offer any resistance of bending. So what happens normally when you do, you will bend it and you will try to cut it and all, correct? That should not happen. The string should be very uniform and it should be very perfectly flexible. That is your first assumption. Okay, second assumption, the string should be homogeneous, means the mass per unit length should be constant, means the string should not be very bulged at one point and it should not be very thin at one more point. It should be very uniform, means it should be homogeneous, means the mass per unit length, means the mass at any length, it should be constant. Okay, normally all the springs whatever we see, it will be homogeneous only, but there are few springs, if you have seen properly, in the middle it will be bulged and at the top and at the end it will be a bit thin, correct? So those type of strings we are not considering here. Here the string is homogeneous, that is mass per unit length is a constant. Okay, that is my second assumption. Then third assumption, the tension caused by the string is too large that the force due to the weight of the string, that is the effect of the gravity, can be neglected. So what we are doing here, it's a very simple assumption. What we are thinking is the effect of the gravity can be neglected. The effect of gravity, it is explained in this term. What is that? The tension which is caused by the spring, caused by stretching of the spring, is so large that the forces due to the weight of the string can be neglected. Means if we take any force here, that force should be acting along with the gravity, correct? So that gravity we are neglecting here. So what you can write in the exam is, you can just write the effect of the gravity can be neglected. That's it. More than enough. It is understandable. It is understandable. Clear? So that is your third point. So what was your first point? The string should be perfectly flexible, it should be homogeneous, and it should be the effect of gravity should be neglected. And next, the motion takes place in xy plane, x and y, here y is nothing but u plane, and each particle of the spring moves moves perpendicular to the equilibrium position OA of the spring. Means that is, there is no horizontal vibration. What happens is, see, now if you check, this is vertical line, this is horizontal line, correct? So whatever oscillations or vibration occurs, it should be along horizontal direction only, means it should vibrate along in this pattern only. Okay, it should not vibrate like this. This is there is no horizontal vibration, there should not be having any horizontal vibration, there should be a vertical vibration. Okay, you can directly write there should not be any horizontal vibration, or you can write the motion takes place in xy plane and each particle of the spring moves perpendicular to the equilibrium position OA of the string, or that is simply there is no horizontal vibration. Okay, So these are the four assumptions which we have to consider here. First thing is the string is perfectly flexible and it does not offer any resistance while bending. The string is homogeneous, that is the mass per unit length is constant, and then the tension caused by this stretching the string is too large that the forces due to the weight of the string can be neglected, or we can tell that the effect of the gravity can be neglected. And fourth point is there will not be any horizontal vibration. We are considering vertical vibration here just to derive the ex expression for one dimensional wave equation. Okay. Next, now I'm just explaining the diagram here. So let rho be the mass per unit length of the string. So let us consider the motion of the element PQ. So PQ means what? We are taking the distance of O to P as y, as x, okay, O to P as x, and P to Q we are giving a small increment of delta x, okay, and so that O to P, O to Q will become what? X plus delta x. Clear? O to P is x, P to Q is delta x, and O to Q will be x plus delta x. Okay, so instead of writing all this, I have just written consider the motion of the element PQ with the length delta x. Correct? The length of this PQ will be delta x. How do we get that? For this x, if I give a small increment, that is nothing but delta x. So from O to P will be x, O to Q will be x plus delta x. So P to Q will be only delta x. Okay, clear? Okay. Next, what we are doing is let us consider the tensions T1 and T2 at the point P and Q. Okay, so T1 at the point P, we are just drawing a tension here, or a tangent in your language, and T2 at the point Q. Okay, since the string does not offer any resistance of bending by the first assumption, what we can do, we can tell the tensions T1 and T2 are tangential to the curve of this string respectively at P and Q. Means they are tangential to each other. Why? Because there is no resistance of bending, or the string is perfectly flexible. Correct? Since they are perfectly flexible, what we can tell, the tensions T1 and T2 are tangential to the curve of this string respectively at the point P and Q. Means the strings, the tensions are tangential to each other. That's it, at the point P and Q. Okay, clear? Clear with this much? So first, what did we take? Let rho be the mass per unit length of the spring, and the distance of PQ is nothing but delta x. Then we are considering the two tensions T1 along point P and T2 along point Q, and then by the first assumption we can tell that the two tensions T1 and T2 are tangential to each other along point P and Q. That's it. This is in own words what I am explaining. Okay. Next, since there is no motion in the horizontal direction, that is by fourth assumption. See why these assumptions we had made and what are the importance of this assumption, you will come to know now. Okay, so since there is no motion in the horizontal assumption, we can tell that, see, when it comes to horizontal, normally it will be cos. Correct? So T1 cos alpha is equal to T2 cos beta is equal to some constant T. Why constant we are considering? Because this cos and sine, cos angle is always acting along horizontal direction in general. Okay, and here we have a fourth assumption that there is no horizontal vibration, means that horizontal axis will be remaining constant. Correct? How to define cos? Sine is opposite by hypotenuse, cos is adjacent by hypotenuse. So if you check here in this 90-degree, cos will be this adjacent angle cos alpha. So this is your opposite line, and this is your hypotenuse, and this is your adjacent line. Correct? So this adjacent line is nothing but along the horizontal axis. That's why the angle cos alpha, and similarly if you check here cos beta, it will be we can take it as a constant T. Are you clear? So if you just check for this angle alpha, okay, so what will be your cos alpha? It will be this line divided by this line. Correct? Adjacent by hypotenuse. So this adjacent line is along which axis? See here, along horizontal axis. Correct? See, See here, that's why you can take it as constant. Similarly, if you check here, here also this adjacent line is along horizontal axis. That's why you can consider this as constant t. That is by the assumption 4. So my assumption 4 tells me that there is no horizontal vibration. Therefore, T1 cos alpha is equal to T2 cos beta. We are taking it as constant t. By with the next assumption. Next, the mass of the element PQ is rho into delta x, correct? So in the figure, if you had checked that PQ, I had taken a distance PQ, correct? So what will be the total mass of that? That will be rho into delta x, right? So next point you have to write mass of the element PQ is rho into delta x. Okay. Now horizontal components, we came to know that it was constant T, correct? But how about the vertical components? The vertical components of the tension T1 and T2 are nothing but minus T1 sin alpha along T1 and plus T2 sin beta along T2. Why we have taken negative sign along T1? Because the tension along T1 was moving downwards. Am I right? It was moving towards the origin, correct? That's why we have to consider, means, or else in a simple way both the tensions were moving in the opposite direction, correct? So obviously when it moves in opposite direction, one we have to consider it as a negative sign. Okay, or in a simple way we can tell that the negative sign is used because the tension T1 is directed downwards. That's it. Okay, so horizontal components, that are T1 cos alpha and T2 cos beta, we are considering it as a constant because of the assumption 4. And then the vertical components of T1 and T2 are nothing but minus T1 sin alpha and T2 sin beta. Okay. Now what to do? So hence we have the total force is equal to, force is required, correct? When you consider, the force is nothing but, actually it should have been minus T1 sin alpha plus T2 sin beta. I have written it in a required format. Force is equal to T2 sin beta minus T1 sin alpha, or in simply, what is that force is equal to? Summation of tensions, correct? So physics you should be knowing much better than me because I am just a simple mathematician. So physics part, whatever I have learned, I might have forgotten. So you people will be very clear about these points. Okay. So this force is equal to T2 sin beta minus T1 sin alpha. Now by Newton's second law of motion, the equation of the motion in vertical direction is nothing but force is equal to mass into acceleration, correct? F equal to ma. Here for this segment PQ, because we have considered the tensions from the point P and Q, so force is equal to mass into acceleration for the segment PQ. Okay. So mass is nothing but mass of that part region PQ is nothing but rho into dx. And what is acceleration of the segment PQ? See, if it is velocity, it will be dou u by dou t. Am I right? You remember in your vector what is that? Vector differentiations, or in vectors you might have studied velocity and acceleration, correct? If you differentiate once, that will give me velocity. If you differentiate twice, it will give me acceleration. But why I am going for partial differentiation here, my dear students? Because u is a function of x and t. Remember, in the very first slide I had said my u I am writing in terms of function of x and t, correct? So here the acceleration is along x axis, so dou u acceleration is simply given by dou u by dou t will give me velocity. So acceleration is dou square u by dou t square. Okay, so my force is nothing but mass into acceleration, that is rho dx into acceleration is dou square u by dou t square. Why I am using partial? Because u is a function of both x and t. Clear? Now I'll equate 3.1 and 3.2. So in the place of f I can substitute this. Okay, so in the place of f I'll take rho into dx into dou square u by dt square is equal to T2 sin beta minus T1 sin alpha. Okay, then yes, see here I have equated 3.1 and 3.2. Since force is nothing but summation of tensions, so force I have defined it in another way, that is by Newton's second law, mass into acceleration, the definition of force. So here mass is rho into dx, acceleration is dou square u by dou t square, which is equal to T2 sin beta minus T1 sin alpha. Okay, now what I'll do is, in the next one I'll divide the entire equation by t. So when I do that, I'll get rho into delta x into dou square u by dou t square divided by t is equal to t2 sin beta divided by t minus t1 sin alpha divided by t. Okay, now I can do some substitutions for t. What is that? If you had checked properly, along horizontal direction I had taken the tensions as constant. You remember, t1 cos alpha and t2 sin t2 cos beta is equal to constant. So can't I apply that in the place of t as t1 sin cos beta and t1 sorry t2 cos beta and t1 cos alpha? Yes, that's what I am doing here. See here. So in the place of t, from star, t1 cos alpha is equal to, this should be equal to, okay, t1 cos alpha, one second, t1 sin alpha from star t1 cos alpha is equal to t2 cos beta is equal to t. So in the place of t, since I have beta here, I will take t2 sin beta minus, since I have t1 here, I will take t1 cos alpha. So t2 will get cancelled, t1 will get cancelled. What is sin beta by cos beta? Tan beta. And sin alpha by cos alpha is tan alpha. So we'll get tan beta minus tan alpha. Clear? Okay. So what is tan beta? What is tan actually? Tan is nothing but slope of the tangent. You remember? Slope of the tangent is given by tan x. Correct? In a simple way, slope of the tangent is always tan x. So here tan beta means dou u by dou x at the point q, because beta was along q. Tan alpha is nothing but dou u by dou x at the point p. Am I right? The angle alpha was along the point p, and angle alpha and the angle beta was along the point q. So this tangent tan beta is nothing but dou u by dou x. Correct? Slope of the tangent. I can write it as dou u by dou x at the point q minus dou u by dou x at the point p. Okay. See here. The other reason I have written here, because tan alpha and tan beta are respectively the slope of the string p and q, that is tan alpha is equal to dou u by dou x at the point p and tan beta is equal to dou u by dou x at the point q. Okay. Therefore we use the partial derivative, that is okay, I have explained you. Now here, so point p, at point p the value is x. You remember I said you, right? Initially the diagram, if you check, from O to P what was it? It was x. Then from O to Q what was it? It was x plus delta x. You remember initially while explaining the diagram I had said you, right? So the same way, that's what I am taking here. So then what did I do? I divided both the side by delta x, so that delta x I can cancel here. So divide both the side by delta x and take limit of delta x tending to 0. We get rho divided by t into dou square u by dou t square, that delta x will get cancelled here, is equal to, see here, I have divided by delta x, limit of delta x tending to 0, dou u by dou x into x plus delta x minus dou u by dou x of x divided by delta x. Okay, my dear students. Now here comes the important point. What is this? What will I get when I write the final step here? Okay, just can you answer me, how did you get the differentiation of sin x as cos x? Or how did you get the differentiation of x square as 2x? You know, did you had the derivations of those in your plus 2? I think you might have had it, correct? So same way here, by the definition of derivative means nothing but f dash of x is equal to limit of delta x tending to 0, x plus f of x plus delta x minus f of x divided by delta x. That is a normal definition what you might have studied in your plus 2. Okay, so same definition I am applying here. So limit of, since instead of delta x we have del x, the triangle delta you used to write I think in your plus 2, but here it is delta x tending to 0, function is dou u by dou x, f of x plus delta x minus f of x divided by delta x, correct? That is simply f dash of x. So here my f is dou u by dou x. If you write dash of that, it will become dou square u by dou x square. Proper? That is nothing but definition by this I am writing by the definition of derivative, which I have already studied in your plus 2. Okay, what is the definition? F dash of x is equal to, I am telling you in general, f dash of x is equal to limit of delta x tending to 0, f of x plus delta x minus f of x divided by delta x. Okay. Clear, my dear students? Okay. So what is the definition? F dash of x is equal to limit of delta x tending to 0 f dash of x is equal to limit of delta x tending to 0 f of x plus delta x minus f of x divided by delta x. That is nothing but f dash of x, but here my f is dou u by dou x, so its dash means it will become dou square u by dou x square. Okay, very simple definition. So therefore what we get is dou square u by dou t square is equal to t by rho into dou square u by dou x square. That t by rho is a constant, so that we are taking it as c square into dou square u by dou x square. Why I am taking c square as a constant? Because here I have second order, so even this constant I wish to write it in a second order. Okay, so we get c square is nothing but t by rho, so dou square u by dou t square is equal to c square into dou square u by dou x square, or we can tell it as utt, that is nothing but dou square u by dou t square is equal to c square into u xx. So this is the derivation of one dimensional wave equation. Are you clear? So I'll just briefly tell you once again, just listen carefully, my dear students. First you draw the diagram. In the diagram we'll take a stretchable string along point O and A, and in that O and A you consider the 2 points P and Q. Okay, from O to P the distance is x, and from O to Q the distance is x plus delta x. So P to Q will be only delta x. Clear? That is all about diagram. Then you take the assumptions, the string is flexible, all those 4 assumptions you take. After taking the assumptions, what you will do, you again explain the diagram. In that P to Q the distance, the density is delta x, and along P draw tangent T1, and along Q you draw tangent T2, and since the string is stretched along the horizontal axis, the vibration will take only along vertical axis. So along horizontal it will be constant. So constant means which one I can take constant? T1 cos alpha is equal to T2 cos beta is equal to some constant T. Okay. After that assumption, force is nothing but along vertical axis what will happen? The tangents will be varying. So it is minus T1 sin alpha along the point P, and T2 sin beta along point Q. So then you define force. Force is equal to that summation of tensions. Force is equal to T2 sin beta minus T1 sin alpha. Then by the Newton's second law of motion, force is nothing but mass into acceleration. Mass is rho into dx. Acceleration is dou square u by dou x square. Just substitute that. So now I'll go with the solution of the wave equation, my dear students. So before going to the solution of wave equations, I am going to one of the method known as variable separable method. Since this method is new to you, I am just giving you the steps. So suppose if you have x and y as independent variables and z is a dependent variable, that is simply if z is a function of xy, then we can find the solution of the given equation, which is of the form z is equal to xy, where x is a function of x and y is a function of y alone. Then we substitute that x is a function of x in z, and similarly y as a function of y in z, and its partial derivative in the equation, and rewrite the equation in such a way that the LHS involves x and its derivative, and the RHS involves y and its derivative. Okay, so what we have to do? So suppose if you have a function z, or which is a function of xy, then what you have to do is you have to take capital X, which is a function of only x, and you have to take capital Y, which is a function of only y. Then we have to substitute that in z is equal to xy. Means we are trying to write it in the form z is equal to xy. Okay. Then we have to rewrite the equation in such a way that the LHS will involve only the terms of x, means variable separable. We have to separate the variables, correct? Separating the variables means what? X should be written separately and y should be written separately. Okay, so that's what they're telling here. LHS should involve x and its derivative separately, and RHS should involve y and its derivative separately. Okay, next we equate each side of the equation obtained in step 1 to a constant, means we will equate it to some constant k or c, whatever it is, and solve the resulting ordinary differential equation for x and y. See, when we separate the variables x and y, it will become a normal ordinary differential equation. Is it so? Yes or no? See, what is the difference between partial and ordinary? Normal differentiation means what? We will be having z as a function of only one variable x. If I have function of more than two variables, suppose if I have z is equal to function of xy, then obviously we have to go for what? Partial differentiation. If I have function of single variable, then we can go for normal differentiation. Okay, so since here we are separating the variables x and y, my LHS will have only x, so I can go for normal differentiation, and my RHS will have only y, so again I can go for normal differentiation with respect to y. Okay, then finally we have to substitute the expression for x and y obtained in step 2 in z is equal to xy. The resulting expression is the general solution for z. That's it. Okay, this is nothing but variable separable method. It's very simple, my dear students. We have to separate the variable x and we have to separate the variable y. That's it. Okay, that is variable separable method. So now I'll go for the solution of wave equation, and the solution of wave equation is done using the method of variable separable. And remember, my dear students, if you know the solution of heat equation or wave equation, writing another solution is very easy. Both the solutions, either whether it is heat or wave, both will follow the same steps. Okay, so I'll tell you, this is wave equation, correct? Utt equal to c square into uxx. But for heat equation we'll get only ut. Instead of utt we'll get ut. That is a difference. Okay, yes. So first we'll consider, now what I'm doing is various possible solution for one dimensional wave equation. So read the question carefully, my dear students, whether they have asked you to derive the equation or whether they have asked you to find the solution of the equation. You have to read the question carefully first and then start answering. Don't write both, don't get confused. Okay, so first thing is we will consider utt is equal to c square into uxx. They have said you to do it by variable separable method, correct? So here my u is a function of x and t, correct? So let u is equal to xt, where x is a function of x and t is a function of t only, be the solution of the partial differential equation. Clear? Now I have to substitute this x equal to function of x and t equal to function of t in this equation, given equation. Okay, so wherever t is there I should write it as function of t, and wherever x is there I should write it as function of x. See here, utt means dou square u by dou t square, correct? So in the place of u I am taking xt. Similarly here in the place of u I am taking xt. Okay, so now here which is a variable? T is a variable, which is a constant, x is a constant, and in RHS x is a variable, t is a constant. So in this LHS I will write x outside, in RHS I will write t outside, because it's a constant, correct? We no need to differentiate it. So see here, I have written x outside and I will make it as a normal differentiation here, because it's a function of a single variable. X into d square t by dt square is equal to c square into t is a constant into d square x by dx square. Clear? Now what I'll do, I'll divide this entire, see the procedure tells you variable separable, you have to separate the variable of x and separate the variable of y. In this case we have to separate the variable of x and separate the variable of t, correct? So if you check here, along with d square x by dx square I have ct square. That ct square should go to other side, x should come to other side, correct? Or instead of dividing you can tell it as cross multiplication. Okay, just take this c square t to other side and x to other side. So what I'll get, 1 by c square t into d square t by dt square is equal to x. If it goes to other side it will become 1 by x into d square x by dx square. Clear? Okay, now if you check properly, variables are separated, yes or no? The function of t is separate and the function of x is separate. So this is variable separable. What is my next step? I have to equate it to some constant k, correct? So now what I am doing, I am equating to some constant k on both sides here. You can just check. I have written x first just for the sake of simplicity. So 1 by x into d square x by dx square I have equated to k, and similarly 1 by ct square into d square t by dt square I have equated to k. Then what did I do? I have taken this x to other side. It will become what? Kx. Then kx, if it goes to other side, it will become minus kx. Equate it to 0. Very simple. So I am writing it as d square x by dx square minus kx is equal to 0. Clear? And similarly here, I will take this 1 by ct square to other side. It will become, c square t to other side. It will become k into c square t. When I equate it to 0, it will become d square t by dt square minus k into c square t equal to 0. Proper? Or I can write this as how, you know, you have studied the various solutions, how to find out yc and all, correct? So same way now we are getting a differential equation. Solve that differential equation. That's it. Okay. So this d square by dx square, I am writing it as capital D square minus k. If you check, x is common in both the terms. I have written x outside equal to 0. And similarly here, d square minus, I have written c square first, c square k, and again t was a common term in both the terms. So take t outside equal to 0. Is it okay till here? So any confusions here in the initial steps, my dear students? See, till here if you have written properly, almost all the steps are done. Okay. So first, what is this? What we are doing is, we are doing the solution of wave equation. First write the wave equation. Wave equation is given by utt is equal to c square into uxx, or in a simple way, dou square u by dou t square is equal to c square into dou square u by dou x square. Okay. So then what I have to do? Variable separable means let u is equal to, what are the variables here? X and t. Okay, take it as capital X and t. Let u equal to x and t, where capital X is a function of x and capital T is a function of t, be the solution of the given partial differential equation. Okay. Then what you have to do? In the place of u, you have to substitute xt. Wherever u is there here, you have to substitute xt. Okay. So dou square xt by dou t square is equal to c square into dou square xt by dou x square. Done. Now in this, which is a variable? T is a variable, which is a constant x. So write x outside. Similarly here in this RHS, which is a variable? X is a variable, which is a constant. T is a constant. So write t outside. So it will become c square t into d square x by dx square. Why did I change this dou to d? Because it's a single variable. I don't have two variables here. So instead of writing dou, we are writing it as d. That's it. Okay. Next, what is the method actually? Variable separable. Variable separable means what? You have to separate the variables. So here I have x into something and here I have t into something. So I should get all the terms of t to one side and x to another side. So what I am doing? I am dividing. Instead of dividing, you can just cross multiply. Take c square t to other side and x to other side. So it will become 1 by c square t into d square t by dt square is equal to 1 by x into d square x by dx square. Okay. Then what is the procedure? Equate these two. Now the variables have separated. Equate it to some constant k. So I am equating both the equations to some constant k. Okay. Now this has become like a normal differential equation what you have solved in your second module. Then what you do? You take x to other side. It will become d square x by dx square is equal to kx. Then take kx to other side. It will become minus kx equal to 0. Similarly here, d square t by dt square minus k into c square t equal to 0. Then x is common here right outside. So it will become capital D square minus k into x equal to 0. And here capital D square minus c square k, t is a common term, equated to 0. Clear till here, my dear students? Okay. Now I am going for the various here. What they are telling is, what are the various possible solution? Various possible solution means what? There will be more than one solution. Okay. See, now this k is a constant, am I right? That k can be 0, that k can be 1, that k can be 2, that k can be minus 1. correct? So for which value of k you want the solution? Have they mentioned that? No. So we have to take different cases for k. First case I will take k equal to 0. What happens when k is 0? Second case I will take what happens when k is a positive term. And third case I will take what happens when k is a negative term. So okay, so these are the possible three solutions. So just check here. I am just writing this equation so that I can explain it properly. Okay, so my first case I am taking k equal to 0. Let k equal to 0. So what happens when k equal to 0 here? I will get d square into x is equal to 0, or auxiliary equation will be m square equal to 0. Am I right? See here. Or m is equal to 0 comma 0. So what will be the solution? X is equal to, you just observe this, you forget about this d square t, I will tell later. X is equal to, the roots are real and repeated, so I should write it as c1 plus c2x into e power 0x, correct? E power 0x is simply 1, so I am just leaving it. Similarly, if you check your second equation, here again, when k is 0, I will get d square into t is equal to 0. Or again, auxiliary equation will be same, m square is equal to 0. So solution is, here t is equal to, already c1 c2 you have written, next it will be c3 plus c4t into e power 0t, but e power 0t is 1, so I just neglected. Therefore the solution is finally u equal to xt. So what is x? c1 plus c2x into what is t? c3 plus c4t. So this is one possible solution. What is case 1? When k is equal to 0, what will happen? Okay, my auxiliary equation will become m square is equal to 0 in both the cases. So my solution will be x equal to c1 plus c2x and t will be equal to c3 plus c4t. So final solution is u equal to x into t. You have to substitute that, remember. You cannot stop it here only, my dear students. They lose, they will deduct 1 mark. Be careful. Okay, this is case 1. When k is 0, what will be my next case? Next case is when k is a positive term, when k is equal to 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. I will just take some positive constant. Okay, case 2, let k be some positive term. I am taking let k is equal to n square, some positive term. Okay, that n square may be anything, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. Okay, so I will just substitute it. So the above equations will become d square minus, in the place of k, n square x is equal to 0, and here d square minus c square n square into t is equal to 0. So what will be my auxiliary equations? In the first case it will be m square minus n square equal to 0, and in the second case it will be m square minus c square n square is equal to 0. Now solve this. So here when I take minus n square to other side, it will become plus n square. So m is equal to plus or minus n, and similarly here m is equal to plus or minus cn, correct? Is it okay? I hope you can solve this easily. So what will be the solution then? In the first case, x is equal to, what will I get? Plus or minus n, both are real numbers only. So c1 into e power nx plus c2, why did I take dash here? Because c1 already one constant I had written there in my first case. So I just write it as c1 dash. If not, you can write c1, c2, c3, c4. Then you can write this as c5, c6, c7, c8. See, constants anyway if you write also no problem. Okay, whether you will write continuously numbers c1, c2, c3, c4, then in second case you can go for c5, c6, c7, c8. If not, c1 dash, c2 dash, c3 dash, c4 dash, anything is fine. Okay, so then m is equal to plus or minus n, x is equal to c1 into e power nx plus c2 dash into e power minus nx, and for t, and t will be equal to, this is for t, okay, c3 dash into e power c n t plus, it should have been c4, one second my dear students. Plus c4 dash into e power minus cnt. So therefore final solution will be u equal to xt, write the value of x into write the value of t. This is your second case. Clear? See, it's very easy. First case you take k equal to 0 in both the terms. Second case you take k equal to n square. What will be the third case then? Taking k equal to minus n square, negative term. Okay, so when I take n square here, I will get d square minus n square equal to 0, or auxiliary equation is m square minus n square equal to 0, m equal to plus or minus n. So what will be the solution? X is equal to c1 dash into e power nx plus c2 dash into e power minus nx. And similarly for the second term, d square minus c square n square equal to 0. Our auxiliary equation is m square minus c square n square is equal to 0. M is equal to plus or minus cn. Correct? So plus or minus cn means my t will be equal to c3 dash into e power cnt plus c4 dash into e power. I am just writing this equation again and again. You no need to write, you can write it once in the exam. Just for the explanation I am writing this again and again. Okay. So case 3, let n be equal to negative. Negative means instead of taking plus n square here I am taking minus n square. So when k is equal to minus n square, what will I get? So when I substitute that k equal to minus n square here, this will become d square plus n square into x equal to 0 and d square plus c square n square into t is equal to 0. Am I right? Just check. Proper? Then what will be the auxiliary equation in the first case? It will be m square plus n square equal to 0, and in the second case m square plus c square n square is equal to 0. Proper? Okay. Now what are the roots of this equation? M square plus n square equal to 0. See, when I take n square to other side, what will become? Minus n square. For example, if I have m square plus 1 equal to 0, what will I get? M is equal to plus or minus I. Am I right? If I have m square plus 4 equal to 0, what will I get? M equal to plus or minus 2i roots. Same way, if I have m square plus n square is equal to 0, I will get m is equal to plus or minus ni. Proper? And same way here, plus or minus cni, icn or cni, whatever it is. Correct? These are the roots of this equation. Now how will you write the solutions? So what will be x equal to in the first case? So x is equal to c1 double dash, since it is imaginary root, we have to write in terms of cos and sine. C1 double dash into cos nx plus C2 double dash into sin nx. Proper? And what will be t equal to? C3 double dash into cos cnt plus C4 double dash into sin cnt. Proper? Okay. Yes. So finally my solution will be u is equal to xt. So substitute the value of ux and substitute the value of t. So these are the various possible 3 solutions which can be obtained for a wave equation. Similarly, same procedure is there for even heat equation. Okay. So if you know wave equation properly, I mean the solution, you can write the solution of heat equation very easily. Okay. So my dear students, my suggestion is you study both the derivations as well as solutions of heat and wave equation properly, because it will be very helpful, and either of the one will be there for sure for your SEM exam as well as the internals. Okay. So what we have to do first, I'll just tell orally. If you want, you can go back to the video and you can refer it. First thing is, given equation is dou square u by dou x square is equal to c square into dou square u by dou t square. Variable separable means what? You consider let u is equal to xt be the solution of the equation, where x is a function of x, that is x equal to x into x, and t is a function of t. Okay. Then substitute that u is equal to xt in the equation and try to separate the variables. Separate the variables means what you have to do? You have to separate x and you have to separate t. Okay. Once you separate the variables, then what you will do? You have to equate both the variables to some constant k. After equating both the variables to some constant k, you make it as a normal differential equation. So we'll get the differential equation as what? D square minus k into x is equal to 0, and one more equation is d square minus c square into k into t is equal to 0. That is your first part of the derivation, which carries 3 marks. Then the remaining 3 cases will carry you 4 marks. Okay. So first case is what? See, various possible solution means the constant whatever k we have taken, that k can be either 0, or it can be some positive term, or it can be some negative term. So case 1, we are taking k is equal to 0. So k equal to 0 you take here and write the auxiliary equation. Auxiliary equation is m square is equal to 0, or roots are 0, 0. So solution will be x equal to c1 plus c2 x into e power 0t, and t is equal to c3 plus c4t into e power 0t. Then final solution is u equal to xt. Write it together. That is when k equal to 0. Next case is what? when k is a positive term. So that positive term we are taking it as some k what is that, n square. Let k equal to n square. Okay, so we'll get d square minus n square into x is equal to 0, and d square minus c square n square is equal to into t is equal to 0. Write it in form of auxiliary equation. We'll get m square minus n square is equal to 0, m square minus c square n square is equal to 0. Then we'll get the roots as m is equal to plus or minus n and m is equal to plus or minus cn. Therefore solution is x is equal to c1 dash into e power nt plus c2 dash into e power minus nx or e not x t. Similarly t is equal to c3 dash into e power cnt plus c4 dash into e power minus cnt. Then write it together. Okay, after that case 3 when k is negative. Okay, when k is negative I have it here. It will become d square plus n square is equal to 0, and I'll get d square plus c square n square is equal to 0, or the auxiliary equation is m square plus n square is equal to 0 and m square plus c square n square is equal to 0. So when I take n square to other side, it will become minus n square. So m is equal to plus or minus in, right? Because root of minus 1 is I. Okay, and similarly I'll get m is equal to plus or minus ICN. Then my solution for this is x is equal to c1 double dash into cos nx plus c2 double dash into sin nx, and for t it will be c3 double dash into cos nct plus c4 double dash into sin nct. Then finally my solution is u is equal to xt. Write the value of x here and write the value of t here. Okay, so these are the various possible solutions for one dimensional wave equation. So in this video I have explained you the derivation as well as the solution of wave equation. In my next video I will be explaining you only the derivation of heat equation. The solution of heat equation is homework for you, my dear students. Okay, same procedure you follow, you will get it very easily. If you have any doubts or any confusions, contact me. Thank you.